Okay guys, so today we are going to talk about clouds, and then naturally that moves on to us talking about precipitation. But first of all, let's have a little look at clouds. So these are things that you are going to be familiar with because in Ireland we see them quite often. Now you might have these Hollywood style clouds on a beautiful blue sky, or it might be other types of clouds. But the important thing is all clouds are made up of a collection of tiny, tiny droplets of water or ice crystals, depending on how high up in the atmosphere they are. They are so small that these droplets can float in the air. They're that tiny. And all air contains water. As you breathe out little particles of water vapor. As plants transpire, they release tiny droplets of water vapor, and as the sun shines, it causes evaporation, which releases tiny droplets of water vapor. Near the ground, water is usually an invisible gas, but sometimes when there's fog, you might see the water vapor as fog. Now we have a lovely image here of skyscrapers in a sea of fog, sea of cloud. So as air rises, it cools, and as it cools, it can't hold as much water vapor as it did when it was warmer. So the water vapor condenses into tiny droplets of water, and when billions of these droplets come together, they form a cloud that you can see. There are 3 types of clouds that you need to know about. So you need to know their names, you need to know their height in the atmosphere, you need to know what kind of weather they bring, and you need to know what they look like. So we're going to cover all of that now. So our first is a stratus cloud. And a stratus cloud is a low-lying cloud that we would get quite often in Ireland, and it fills the whole sky and it's quite grey in colour. So your stratus cloud, it occurs below 2,000 metres in the atmosphere. They look like flat sheets of cloud, and you get an overcast or a rainy day because of them. They are usually grey in colour and cover most of the sky. Our next cloud is our cumulus cloud. So your cumulus cloud is the one that I described a while ago as our Hollywood type clouds, the type that you look at on a sunny day and can see shapes in them. So they're like big cotton balls. Your cumulus cloud is white and fluffy in colour. It occurs below 5,000 metres. It is flat on the bottom and kind of fluffy on top, and usually you get them during good weather, and they have lots of blue sky between them. Sometimes during the summer they can bring heavy rain or downpours, but usually good weather. So we had our stratus, we had our cumulus, and the last cloud type that you need to know about is our cirrus. So our cirrus clouds occur very high in the atmosphere, and they look like somebody was trying to paint the sky but didn't have enough paint at all. They're like brush strokes or goat's hairs. So your cirrus clouds usually form above 8,000 metres. And if you think for just a moment, what would the temperature be like above 8,000 metres? Well, it would be very cold. Very, very cold. So is this going to be water vapour, or will it be something else? The water vapour will have frozen, and it will have formed ice crystals. So there's very little water vapour, and the water vapour that occurs at this height forms ice crystals. And because there's so little water vapour, big clouds can't occur, so you get this thin wispy cirrus cloud. Now that leads us on nicely to precipitation. Precipitation is any kind of moisture which forms in the sky and falls on the land. So it can be solid or it can be liquid. So rain, snow, sleet, hail, fog, dew, all of those. Rain is the most common form of precipitation, and it happens because when air is forced to rise, it starts to cool, and as the air cools, it can't hold water vapor anymore until it is 100% saturated, and that is called the dew point. So the dew point is the point above which condensation occurs. And condensation is how those tiny droplets of water vapor join together to make bigger droplets that fall as rain or snow or sleet, any kind of precipitation. Now there's 3 types of rainfall that you need to know. So you need to know how these rainfall types occur, what kind of weather they bring, because it's not just rain, there's a little bit more to it, and the diagrams, then I want you to be aware of what's happening in them. So our first is convectional rain. So running through this, you have a very warm sunny day, because in Ireland we would only get these on very warm sunny days. The sun is heating the ground, which is causing evaporation to happen, and it's happening quickly. As the water evaporates from the land, it forms a cloud, and as it rises, it cools, condenses quickly, and you get very heavy showers of rain. So it might be what we would describe as a thundercloud, and thunder and lightning happens with this as well. So convectional rain is common in areas where the ground is heated by the sun. It happens in Ireland only on very warm summer days, but it happens all year round in other regions such as those near the equator, because you have strong sunlight heating the ground there all year round. The warm air rises because it is lighter, and as the air rises, the water starts to cool and it condenses to form clouds. These clouds produce heavy thunder and lightning cumulonimbus clouds, so cumulonimbus, and that is your convectional rain. Your next one, and again because geography teachers seem to love to have 2 words or more for the same thing, you need to know both. You have cyclonic or frontal rain. Now both of those mean the same thing, but you need to know both of the words. Now this happens where you have 2 fronts meeting. So we have our cold front meeting our warm front. That as the cold front moves in, the warm air has to rise, and as it rises, it cools, and as it cools, the water condenses and falls as precipitation. So cyclonic rain is also called frontal rain because it occurs where 2 air masses meet, causing a front. The lighter air is forced to rise over the heavier air. This causes the warm air to cool as it rises, and it begins to condense. As it rises, more condensation occurs and rain is formed. Frontal rain brings a variety of clouds, which can bring moderate to heavy rainfall, and it's very common in Ireland. And then our last type of rainfall is also very common in Ireland. It's relief rainfall. So relief is to do with altitude and to do with mountains. So here we have a map of Ireland showing these mountains down in Cork and Kerry, mountainous areas here in Galway, Mayo, Sligo, and up here in Donegal, and over here in Wexford. And so it's common in Ireland, especially along the west coast, but especially in mountainous areas. And if we look at our rainfall map of Ireland, you can see that these areas with the heaviest rainfall, above 2,400 millimetres of rain, are the same areas which had our high mountains. So it's relief rainfall. So the prevailing winds, which is the southwesterlies in Ireland, pick up water as they move in from the Atlantic and travel across the sea. The air is moist as they move in towards land. When the moist air reaches the coast, it is forced to rise over the coastal mountains and hills. It cools, condenses, forming clouds, and falls as precipitation. So here we have a nice example of the warm, moist air approaching land. It has to rise up over the mountain where it condenses, forms a cloud, and most of the rain will fall here. As the air continues to be forced over the mountain, it drops its moisture as relief rain, as precipitation. And once over the mountain, the air falls again, starts to warm, and it can hold its water again. This means that this area away from the coast has very little rainfall and is known as a rain shadow. Now, before we look at our video to finish, we'll just recap very quickly. So we have clouds. What do they look like? Can you name the three types? What atmosphere do they, or what level in the atmosphere, what height do they form at? And what kind of weather is associated with them? Then with your rain, I want you to think of it a little bit like our FEED answers. It's going to be a longer answer. You may be asked to just explain what one of those types of rainfall is. You may get a more general question about explain a type of rainfall you have studied with labelled diagrams. So you may have to also be able to draw a diagram of the types of rainfall. So keep that in mind in your notes as you're working through this. Now we'll watch the video.